with Devin Nunes running to the White House in the middle of the night and then back to the White House again. And just yesterday, okay, ExxonMobil requested that they get a waiver from the State Department to start drilling in Russia, Russian territory, on a joint venture with Rosneft. And I want you to stand up for us, stand up for a proper independent investigation of why the ex-CEO of ExxonMobil is currently our Secretary of State. How that is not a conflict of interest. And I want you to hold Trump accountable because he may have colluded with Russia to become elected for this very purpose. Thank you.
So we have two numbers here for education. But there's, obviously we've had walk-ups and we'll continue. So 5387 and 5124. Good evening, Representative. I'm a family-owned child care provider, and my question is, how do we help working families afford high-quality child care without doing on the backs of child care workers? Child care takes up too much of the family's income, and yet child care providers currently receive about 75% of the market rate when they get subsidies for the low-income family. And it's extremely hard to make it work in that way, especially when you treat your employees well, right? But I'm thankful that at least we have health insurance with the AHA, and we many early childhood educators, and we make sure we do this.
Hi, Jamie. My name is David McDevitt, and we've met several times because I ran in 2016, and I'm running against you again in 2018. Yay. I'm in 98663. I want to make something clear, Jamie. I care about your two children, both of them young, and I care about all children. Recently, I had the opportunity to read stories to a group of 4-year-old and 5-year-old kids in an early learning center. And I want to know, Jamie, how you can dare support Betsy DeVos, Paul Ryan, or Donald Trump with respect to the cuts they're proposing and the changes and voucher systems that they're proposing for the Department of Education that will only have bad consequences for early education programs and for public education as a whole. How can you dare?
Hello, Jamie. My name is Peter Harrison. I live here in Vancouver in zip code 98686, and you're still looking like you lost weight. Maybe you're sliding back in your chair. We're talking about education. When I went to school at Humboldt State University in the late 70s and early 80s, a term there cost about $700. I went back to school in 2008, 9, and 10 to get a degree in biology and chemistry at WSU Vancouver, where it cost me around $7,000 a term. The difference is that, in 1984 I bought a Honda. It cost me around $8,000. Honda did it, all the bells and whistles, and that was not too bad. 10 times more today is $80,000. which is a Tesla with a lot of bells and whistles. But didn't get a Tesla quality education when I went to WSU. I got that same Honda Civic with all the bells and whistles. Why is it that I'm paying for one of the most expensive commodities when I'm getting the same thing after accounting for inflation? Why is it that we keep cutting college and saying we need to bring in people from overseas to fill American jobs because we don't have qualified workers? Is it perhaps because we're not putting money into education where we need it, where our businesses need it, where our people need it? Why is it we're saying we should have vouchers for people to be educated in private schools when we've already seen the results of what happens to students who go into private schools with vouchers? They don't move as far forward as people in public schools. They don't move as back too terribly far at least. But doesn't it make sense to spend our money where people get the most advancement, the most movement forward, where we put our money, rather than putting them into private and religious schools that don't provide the movement forward that we need? Education is important. Why don't you think it's important? That's what my question to you. Thank you.
Jamie, as a retired teacher, I would just like to make one sports comparison, so I apologize to those of you that might be offended by sports. During the recession, my district cut over $24 million from its programs. They didn't cut many sports, but they cut many, many other things. And it just seems odd to me that a person who purports to be ethical, who believes in particular foreign policy positions, who believes that the government should represent all of its people, might ask itself why we have a country that spends 2 years ago $4 million for 30 seconds for a Super Bowl commercial. That means $24 million could go into my district with 3 minutes of Super Bowl commercials. And why this year we have a country that spent $5 million on a 30-second commercial for the Super Bowl, and I am a football fan. Please tell me how any district in this country, whether it is public or private, but especially public because I'm educated in a public school here in Vancouver, how can that not take precedent over any other program that we are involved with? I just would like you to tell me that. Thank you.
Hello, Jeannie. My name is Kelly Barnes, and I am a Vancouver resident. I am 663. I have taught public school in Clark County for 10 years now. Taught in Vancouver. And I think the thing that galls me the most is that I teach 7th graders, and I enjoy that, but we all know the heat that middle schoolers can provide adults. And I think that's beautiful, and that's what I enjoy about my job, but it's difficult, and I'm willing to sit in front of them and talk about things that are uncomfortable and things that they might have issues with me, and I have felt that heat, and I guess I haven't heard enough people say it, and I would just say shame on you. I don't understand why it is so hard for you to sit in front of us as your teachers, and you're so centralized. I suppose. I mean, my 7th graders are honestly pretty nice for me, and they agree, and it brings forth helpful discourse, and that's how problems are solved. So, other than being an angry public educator, I wonder where you are for focus groups. And the thing that galls me the most, and really my question/statement for you is, I noticed on your voting record that you are not endorsed by the National Education Association, but you are endorsed by the National Rifle. What are you doing to keep my students safe? What are you doing to keep me safe? And how are you in focus groups with teachers? I have been involved in my union for 10 years, and I have never seen you in your time leading us in Clark County make an effort to meet with me and my association. So we would welcome you, and we would like you to come to our schools, and we would like you to talk with public educators about what we need to know. the few people that forgot to actually say that. I also want to say that before when I kind of made that little joke about I'm glad you're not here, actually it's kind of true because it's giving us a chance to hear from all these people and it's really powerful. So I'm glad that all these people are speaking right now. I've been in working in education for about 40 years in lots of different positions. And I also, I'm old enough to have a memory of what it used to be like. I'm a baby boomer. I was born at the peak of the baby boom. In 1960, I think about 60% of American households had children in school. There was a lot of support for education. And so I got a really good education even though I lived in small towns in the Northwest. We had a lot of programs. And then come the 80s. Oh wait, I want to back up a little bit. I was, my mom was a single parent with 4 kids, but because I went to college in the 70s, my college was paid for by grants. I was able to graduate from college debt-free. Fast forward to the 80s and the Reagan era when they started making cuts to education and putting a lot of pressure on schools, and it was all a push to privatize education. Even starting back then, it was an ideological move against the public good, public ownership. And so now, having worked in education for 40 years, we see lots of things that are happening, and so we see larger class sizes, we see this push to privatize schools, to do charter schools. In a lot of small communities, the teaching is one of the few middle-class jobs available in the communities, and the teachers' unions have played a huge part in that. That's being undermined. And then you look at college debt for young people now. So when I see children in school, a lot of them are coming from working-class families. They're coming into school with parents that are working 2 jobs, they're poor, there's not enough resources. If there's mental health problems, there's no services available for them. There's a lot of economic and housing insecurity, and that on top of all the things that teachers and school leaders have to do when kids are coming to school not ready to learn and not safe in their community. And now, with this administration and with Betsy DeVos, it's just the nail in the coffin. I mean, they are determined to destroy public education. And the shame of that is that the United States, in the good communities, in the good schools, it's got the best education in the world in the public schools. So if you go into poor communities, they're abysmal, right? So it's about funding and it's about support for the schools. And you can see that we used to have